there is a metrics team in Facebook.com which actually try to kind of find out, okay, what are the number of users visiting the Facebook.com, what are their geography, and a lot of other details. Like, and let's say this IP address by mistake, it is not authenticated. Okay, it doesn't has an authenticated challenge. Okay, for example, and it is serving a web page on port number 443 in an unauthenticated manner. So let's say, and it happens normally, and it happens in most cases. So even like, let's say in last 10 months, I have encountered at least like, at least like 12 to 15 cases where one of the IP address of that domain, or the subdomains, was unauthenticated. So if the users, let's say the website of that was, let's say, for research.fb.com, for example. So what will happen is that the owner of that website somehow forgot to kind of put an authentication in place, and they were with the mindset that no one would know this IP address or no one would know this domain, for an example. Okay, and what would happen is that somehow that attacker were able to kind of know about this domain, and what they will do is that once they visit this website, they found out that they don't need to authenticate in any manner, and from there they can export all the metrics, whatever thing is available on that website. And let's say there are like metrics dashboards and all, so they will be able to kind of figure out all those kind of data from there itself. Okay, so it is kind of very normal. Like maybe you guys have also encountered, or if not, you will kind of encounter this kind of things, where thing is that you will be kind of encountering a certain website behind a main website like facebook.com, which is like not authenticated, and it will expose bunch of like highly confidential or restricted data without any kind of authentication. Okay, so it happens normally. Okay, so this is one of the way by which attacker kind of utilize zone transfer, and I will kind of now kind of showcasing that like quickly, like how those things look like. So let me just quickly go to my notes and kind of figure out the exact commands to do that. Okay, so one of the way by which it can be done is, let me just put that. And one more thing, guys, I hope now we will be kind of moving out from networking to the forensics part. Okay, so I hope like most of you guys already have Windows 7 or Windows 10 on your host. Okay, on your host system. If not, maybe just grab a copy of Windows 7 and set up something on the VirtualBox or VMware software. Like I have actually set up a lab. I've actually set up a Windows 7 operating system. Maybe you guys can also kind of suggest, or maybe you can just run on your host itself if it is Windows 7 laptop, or if it is not, just kind of maybe host the Windows 7 operating system on a VirtualBox, or just grab a copy from somewhere and host that thing up. Okay, because that thing will be somewhat needed going forward once we are complete the networking part. Okay. Any questions? I didn't got that. I think Windows 7 is much better for now. Okay, Windows 7 is much better. We will try to. I think Windows 7 is better. Anything you can get, it's all fine. But if it is Windows 7, it's much better. Okay, we'll try to keep things not that complex. For example. Okay. And another thing is that if you are trying to kind of host something on VirtualBox or VMware, you guys already know getting the ISO file for Windows 7 is much more easier. So that's another thing. Okay. So that's one thing. Try to kind of arrange that from your end. Okay. Going forward, we'll try to utilize that. So now let's come back to this zone transfer. So how you can kind of do that? You can kind of do that. So using the dig command again. So what you can do is that, first of all, let's say you utilize dig. You do, okay, what is bearing like snake? Okay, sort, then ns, and then let's say one of the domain is zonetransfer.me. Okay, so one of the first thing I need to do is that I need to kind of figure out the name server of zone transfer. So the domain is zonetransfer.me, I need to figure out the name server of that, which actually holds the records. Okay, which actually hold the record of this domain, the IP address, or maybe other details. So that's the first thing I will do for this domain. Okay. Similarly, I will do that for, let's say, the attacker will do that for facebook.com and whatnot. But here I have the domain that I have figured out is zonetransfer.me. Okay. When I do that, I get the name server. Okay. Name server, which is the authoritative name server, which holds the record of other details about this domain, zonetransfer.me. And then I will execute another command, which will be dig. Then I will give a command line parameter, which is axfr. And then I will do zone transfer.me, my domain. Okay, my domain. And then I will do @ and then I will just copy out one of the thing over here, like this one. Okay, so when I do that, if you see, there are a lot of records coming up over here. So in normal scenario, so if you see, like it says that, okay, the MX records are there, then the TXT record, the other details like name server, SRV record, and a lot of other details. The TXT record also has a lot of other things like the, let's say, we also got, like, let's say, the email address, the phone number, a lot of other details over here. Okay, like for that website, we also got a lot of other IP addresses. So maybe these IP addresses are allocated to other subdomains. Okay, and then what we also got is the CNAME. So if someone try to visit zonetransfer.me, they will be actually let me just quickly see zonetransfer.me. They will be actually kind of going to a different website. Okay, so there are a lot of CNAME records over here. Okay, like you get all the lot of details just from here. Okay, all the zone transfer records just from this. So this was not actually properly configured, so it is allowing anyone to kind of fetch out the records. Okay, but in normal scenario, this will not be allowed. This is just kind of a test domain. Okay, but this is how thing will kind of look like when you kind of authoritative DNS servers, like for example over here, S1 is kind of doing something for, like, requesting something, zone request from server 1. They will kind of similar kind of data for them, like all the records and all the IP addresses. So let's say there are like a lot of IP addresses, like for example 81 dot. So what we can do is that, let's say we can do NS lookup, and let's say 81.4.108.41. Okay, so here what I got is, like, there's, since it is test domain, since the test one, there is nothing hosted on this IP addresses. Okay, then there is nothing hosted on this IP address, maybe for an example. So if I do again NS lookup, if you see 167.88.42.94, what we saw is that there's nothing, server failed, there's nothing behind this IP. So this is just a test zone transfer record. Okay, but this is how the things will look like. Okay, so I will just kind of paste out this command. Okay, so let me just copy this and go me over here, and I'll just paste it out. Okay, so this is the command that I used. Okay, so this is how thing is that the zone transfer will actually work, and the attacker will kind of get hold of things. So now if I try to do that for, let's say, facebook.com, so let me try to do that. Dig plus dot ns and facebook.com. So I got the DNS server, NS server, and let me see what all details it actually provides. So normally, like, the authoritative servers will have more data, but let's see as a normal user what are the things it actually provides us. So facebook.com and @ and again the same thing, and let's see. So you see what it says, the transfer failed, right? So it is checking like I am not authorized to kind of do the zone transfer, record transfer. So it is blocking us from doing